I would say this for us, it was at first, it was a test. We weren't sure if it was going to be a long-term thing or
Hmm.
what it would turn into. And we had the space from Lindsey and leadership to run a test and see how it went. And I would recommend that that would be a great way for somebody to get that data to present, run a test, see how it works, see if it fits.
Welcome to Offer Accepted, the podcast that elevates your recruiting game. Your host, Shannon Ogborn, interviews top talent acquisition leaders, uncovering their secrets to building and leading successful recruiting teams. Gain valuable insights and actionable advice from analyzing cutting-edge metrics to claiming your seat at the table. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Offer Accepted. I'm Shannon Ogborn, your host, and this episode is brought to you by Ashby, the all-in-one recruiting platform empowering ambitious teams from seed to IPO and beyond. I'm here today with not just one, but two wonderful folks from Literati who delivers fantastically curated books to kids, families, and schools, and commitment to helping kids become confident and excited readers. First, we have with us AJ Price, recruiter. He came to the talent world after learning transferable skills from sales-based roles, and AJ is on a mission to provide opportunities to marginalized groups that are often overlooked. And then second, we have with us Lindsey Anderson, who is Literati's head of TA and fairy job mother. Prior to Literati, she worked in the recruiting space for high-growth companies such as TrueCar and Dropbox, and Lindsey comes to us with a passion for recruiting and a background of excelling at scaling venture-backed startups. AJ, Lindsey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So to give the audience some background on yourself and Literati, can you tell us a little bit about your role at Literati and what Literati does?
Yeah, absolutely. So Literati, we are a modern children's book company focused on building reading skills so children can grow to be their best selves. So really what that means is we have two products. We have a monthly subscription box that is powered by an expert curation and data science. And then we also host Literati book fairs in schools. So if you all remember that book fair that you went to when you were a kid, well, that's what we are recreating in modern times. And we're super excited about it. So I do all the things relative to talent. So recruiting operations, data, coordinating, executive hiring, all the corporate hiring as well as running a department. And also I have AJ on the team as well, and he can tell you what he does.
Yeah, again, thank you for having us. I am the recruiter here. I focus on all of our warehouse and sales recruiting. So team up with our general managers in our 4 warehouse locations and help build and scale their teams.
Amazing. And must I say about the book fairs, Scholastic has really had a chokehold on the book fairs for years. So I'm hoping to see Literati at our child's daycare soon.
Yes. We are slowly but surely gaining more and more market share, and people love Literati. The folks out there that are hosting Literati book fairs, the feedback has been really great. So it's just going to go up from here.
I love that. So I know that, AJ, you had mentioned part of this warehouse hiring. It's a little bit different. Obviously, you all have a corporate side, but then you also have a lot of hiring going on the warehousing side that enables your business to success with shipping and making sure people are getting their books on time and things like that. What challenges have you faced at Literati when it comes to hiring this more higher volume warehouse employees?
Yeah, there have been a couple. I think the most glaring one was, I think like a lot of other companies, we had an issue with getting people in during COVID. Population that we're working with as well have been some issues, but we were able to just kind of find some ways to work around that and get really high quality people in that have really changed and improved the culture.
I love that. And I know that part of your means of doing that, right? Expanding talent pools and getting a higher volume of people in the pipeline is actually by incorporating something called second chance hiring. Can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit about, like, what is second chance hiring?
Yeah. So second chance hiring is just, it's what it says, right? We're giving opportunities to previously incarcerated humans that might not get an opportunity somewhere else, be it their background or whatever their current situation is. And we were able to find an opportunity and a path that worked for us that also allowed us to, provide a route for people to just kind of reingratiate themselves and move themselves forward on a path of success.
Amazing. In terms of the why implement second chance hiring? And let's talk about the buy-in. So you may, as an individual or as a recruiting team, be bought into this idea, right? What would you say to a company who's like, this is an interesting premise, right? I want to bring this to our executives. I'm not sure how to present it. How did you all do that? And were there any challenges along the way?
I'll jump in real quick, and then I think I'll let AJ go after that. But I think it's really important, number one, just to understand the reality of life and the environment in which we are working in, right? So more than 80 million Americans have a criminal record. That's a quarter of the entire U.S. population. Among people who were previously incarcerated, there is a 27% unemployment rate. And so, number one, it's important to understand that it's the right thing to do. And it's the right thing to do for our community. And when we are serving our community and when we are lifting people up in our community, we are better off as a whole. And our community is going to be better off as a whole, number one. So I think that kind of just understanding and realizing the nature of our society is really kind of pinnacle to starting the conversation with leadership. So I'll toss it over to AJ. He can kind of talk about a couple of the things that we went through here, but there's definitely more data behind that to back it up.
Yeah. Thank you, Lyndsey. So here specifically, it was a conversation from early. I think we all, and to speak to your question, if a company looking to start the conversation, we all have people that have experienced something like this personally by some sort of degree. And that's something that it's really, we hold really close in our team. So it was a conversation from early, and we had leadership backing, and it really was like, do we want to try and contribute more to the community, right? How can we do that? Is there a population of people that we can reach out to and find and provide that? And that's kind of how the conversation started. We created a matrix that works for us, and we just kind of went by that and gradually got people in the door. And it's been amazing for us. It's been amazing for the culture. We were lucky to partner with JPRS, which is Justice Planning Reentry Services here in Travis County. And they've provided a lot of really good information for us just on how to operate on the backgrounds and giving us a population of people that were willing and able to come into our building and be employees and be contributing employees at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important to surface also when we're talking to senior leadership, why this is a win-win. Not only is it good for our community and the culture within our organization, but at the end of the day, recruiters, recruiting teams, we're trying to move the needle. We're trying to do what's best for the business. And we also want to dissect things with metrics and data that tells a story. And so we use that too. Programs like these saves time, saves money, increases company performance. It has a positive effect on culture. And it also can help promote your DEIB strategy and initiatives that you have. SHRM research revealed that second chance hires have a lower turnover rate, saving us money. Companies that have changed their culture to ensure second chance employees can succeed are finding that their entire workforce is more loyal and engaged because of it. That is something that we really immediately noticed, like on the floors of our fulfillment centers as a result of this type of initiative. I would say improved employee loyalty means lower turnover and higher quality outputs of performance. And I think that it's also, furthermore, a really great strategy in a tight labor market. So it is hard to fill hourly positions for non-exempt employees that have a gluttony of opportunities to go and work in a kitchen, work in a different fulfillment center, gig economy. They can go and drive and deliver things, right? And so there is a ton of competition out there for this type of worker. And so by finding a strategy that works for you, this is one that works for us because we have a direct pipeline of willing, ready, able folks that can get started tomorrow, that can do the job, and that are going to show up and they're going to do it, and they're actually going to do a great job of it.
100%. And when it comes to communicating with executives or getting buy-in, I find that you really have to consider the type of persuasion or argument that's going to work for that person, because some people, you can get them on board with sort of like the moral and ethical argument, to your point, of really humanizing people who have been incarcerated and giving them a second chance for being hired. But then there's some executives that are just going to need to hear the data, the business case, and all of that. So I think when people are approaching this, would you say it's fair to say that you should come at it from the perspective that's going to resonate most with their executive team or even TA leadership?
Know your audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? One of the things that we discovered throughout this process is that there are actually tax breaks that are available to businesses that do participate in second chance hiring. It's not something that we are aware of going into it, but we found out later. So that was a fringe benefit for us, right? But there might be folks out there who don't know that, but can put that in their toolbox. And so whenever they're going to have those conversations and they're saying, hey, this is going to save us money, not just because like these employees are going to stay longer and retain longer and make a bigger impact while they're here, but there is a tangible like tax benefit to our company by doing this, right? And so you can really sharpen the pencil and put numbers behind it.
Yeah.
And hey, a penny saved is a penny earned. Who doesn't? What organization is like, oh no, tisk. I would hate to save some money, or I would hate to be able to put resources elsewhere from this savings. So
I love paying taxes.
Said nobody ever. Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like your executive team was relatively on board, which is great. Do you have any advice for people who may not get that buy-in more immediately? Do you ever have you ever had your executive team like talk to the partners directly or anything like that you feel like is a lever to pull that would help outside of what we just discussed, like the data?
I don't think we've had the executive team talk directly to the partners, but our general manager is in contact with both caseworkers on a consistent basis. Before we had our second person in, the caseworker had a conversation with our general manager and just took us through everything that we needed to know, the responsibilities, if they were going to need to miss time for a situation, stuff like that. And I think that really created a lot of trust. Not that it was already there, just more solidified the trust and the buy-in on that level. But I think any conversation around this, especially with the people working on the other side, and should happen if there is a little hesitation there, because at the end of the day, they're going to be able to give more information process than somebody who's just starting out and wanting to get it up and running.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also, you can monitor performance, right? Just like any team does. And, something that we've noticed is, yes, they retain at higher rates. Yes, they're deeply engaged. Some of our best folks who are, fastest, strongest, like most engaged culture carriers are folks that came to us this program. And by being able to have that information, to be able to parse it down where it's not just anecdotal, but it's actual evidence-based, data-driven. And you can bring that back to your leadership team, even if they're not on the floor. It's like, listen, the data speaks, and it is what it is, right? And it's not just like factual information that we are gathering by, reading an article in SHRM or wherever that it might be. It is actual true data, like from our own organization, that we're able to lean into. It might be harder for a team that doesn't have this sort of program. But again, by doing research, by, give us a call, we can give you an idea of what it's been like on our end. But yeah, it's been really great. And I think that the day speaks to it.
Yeah. And I would say this, for us, it was, at first, it was a test. We weren't sure if it was going to be a long-term thing or what it would turn into. And we had the space from Lyndsey and leadership to run a test and see how it went. And I would recommend that would be a great way for somebody to get that data to present, run a test, see how it works, see if it fits.
And call the good folks at Literati.
Yeah,
They'll tell you.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll help you.
How did you all, I'm curious, get connected with this partner specifically? Or how would a company go about finding a local or even like nationwide partner in second chance hiring?
I'll let Lyndsey answer this, but for us, it was very organic and, for lack of a better term, very random.
Yeah, serendipitous. How about that?
Yeah, there we go.
Yes. I've always told AJ this, and he's a subscriber to it, but I'm a firm believer of you have to meet people where they're at, and we have to find where they are at, right? They are not applying to our jobs on a computer. That is not where this population is. And so I think we were in the throes of COVID, of like, how do we get people in the door? How do we get them to show up, like, after we hire them, right? There were a ton of challenges. And, I was throwing everything at the wall that I could think of to, figure out, to hack hiring in the market. And one of the things that I was doing, I was on Facebook, I was looking for hiring groups, hire ATX, this and that. And then I found a resource for second chance hiring, and someone posted somewhere and I responded. And then it kind of snowballed from there. And, lo and behold, now we have this relationship with a direct channel to our partner. But, it wouldn't have happened if I was resting on my laurels, if I was waiting for somebody to come out there.
Yeah.
Many jurisdictions, like within the county that you reside, within the city that you reside, within the state that you reside, are going to have re-entry services. And so it may be a matter of just like Googling and trying to find that office, trying to find the main point of contact. Like, listen, we search for people all day, every day. That is what our job is as recruiters. And so you can find them and reach out to them, see what kind of program that they have, establish a relationship, build rapport. And that is exactly what we did as soon as we came across them. And it has been very lucrative since then.
Amazing. Put on the search hat. Get out there.
I mean, do what you're best at. Let's go.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think the other part of that too is we've also followed through. I think that's a big part of it. We built rapport. We gained the trust of our partner, but then we've also gained the trust of the people that work with us, right?
Totally.
I think one of the biggest things that, in terms of just like feedback, is they come in and instantly they feel like part of the family. And I think when that information is then given back to the caseworker or whoever your partner would be, it just solidifies that relationship, and they're going to trust that these people are going to be able to just kind of go in there, work, and then just kind of continue on their path.
It's honestly like working with any external source, any external recruiter or sourcer or platform. It's like, I see people being successful in these roles at your company, so I'm actually motivated to get them to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is,
I trust that you have my back.
right.
Therefore, you get more.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes. I mean, If you don't follow through on your actions, then, it's a worthless or meaningless partnership. So it works
Totally.
very well for both of us.
Totally.
I
Let's
think,
go
I
ahead.
was going to say, I think this is a good time to say, not everybody's going to work, right? And I think
Totally.
something important is just to understand, if you are going to embark on this, understand that, but don't let that jade you, right? It's just like anything else. Not everything's going to be 100%, but you're going to get good people out of this. And you just have to understand that some people might not be ready, or it might not be
Yeah.
the best fit. But I think, again, as long as that rapport is there between you and your partner, everybody knows that, and you'll still you'll be able to continue to move forward and continue to get people.
Totally. And it's really just letting go of the stigma that it carries, because people aren't
Absolutely.
necessarily like, oh, we had to terminate a software engineer, everything must be wrong. No one really
Right.
thinks that. It's just like we can't 100% predict job performance. I mean, that sure would be nice, but we can't, right? So like it's the same as with any other job, any other function. There's going to be situations, times, people who don't work out, and that's okay. That doesn't mean the system isn't working.
Right.
That just means there's a case that didn't work, and if it does become a pattern, then you evaluate it, right? But
Absolutely.
to your point, yeah, like let's not freak out and pull the plug on something just because it's not working out immediately, or there's a person who doesn't work out. That's just the case. It's business.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about after the hiring process, because I'm sure some people are wondering, after the hiring process, what are really the necessary steps to set workers up for success? And you mentioned something about working with the caseworkers, because I'm assuming that there's some people who may be on like some sort of probation or may have hearings that they have to attend. Are there any kind of logistics that people should know about that will help set up second chance workers for success?
Yeah, I think one of the main things is, one of the first things that happens is you're going to have a site visit from either the caseworker themselves or it's somebody that works with them. They'll do a tour. They'll just kind of make sure it fits everything that we said it was going to be. And I'm speaking just strictly with Travis County and our partner, how this goes. There will be some paperwork you'll have to fill out on your end, again, just to verify their hours, site visit. And then after that, it's really just, you have to be open, because depending on the person's situation, yes, they may have to be out to meet with their probation officer, or paperwork can sometimes be a little slow. So some people may still be on curfew, right? So if you hire them for a full-time position, you may have to be flexible, and they'll have to start part-time until they can be approved to be out for X amount of hours. Oh, that's pretty much it. And then on our end, it's really just making sure they're trained correctly. After all of that, they're a regular employee for us.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not walking into the organization with the scarlet letter on their chest, right? And we are not announcing to the population of like, hey, here's this person who's different, right? Like that is not happening. That
Totally.
is not what is going on, right? It is strictly a personal, confidential matter, that is handled that way. I think that it's important to note that there is a certain amount of flexibility that we have to have as an organization in order to accommodate people, right? To AJ's point, if there is a curfew, paperwork, they may be restricted in hours in a certain sense. They may have to leave in a certain sense. And so if your business is very rigid, like either you're going to have to make accommodations or, you have to find some sort of flexibility to be able to meet people where they're at, right? There are certain individuals that may come into the organization that, people might get a hint of what's going on because they may have an ankle monitor or something like that.
Right.
However, we as an organization are extremely focused on making sure that everybody feels a sense of belonging in every nook and cranny of our organization. And it doesn't matter if you're on the fulfillment floor, if you're in customer support, if you're an executive, if you're a remote employee in Washington, if you are a local employee in Austin. We want to make sure that everybody has a sense of belonging and that they can show up and be their true selves no matter who they are or what their circumstances are. And so I can tell you that these folks, even though there might be some indication that something is different, they never feel like a second-class citizen or employee at Literati. They are always welcome with open arms and encouragement, motivation, mentorship. They are given the same opportunities as anybody else would.
Yeah. I think the phrase that gets thrown around the most is a sense of dignity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a huge aspect of why it works for us and why a lot of our people have been really successful. And to touch on what Lyndsey said, because when they come in here, from day one, they are part of the Literati family.
Absolutely.
Right? There's no judgment. Right. If they have to leave to handle their business when they come back, there's no side eyeing. They are part of the team. They are part of the family. And instilling that sense of dignity is such a huge thing because, in my opinion, that's going to determine if somebody's a fit or if they're not.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's like if you are a person who's not going to treat everyone with dignity no matter what, then you're not going to be a good match here.
Yeah.
I love that you all are providing that for not just your second chance hires, but for everybody. It's a very
everybody
critical piece of your culture, which I love.
Yeah.
Do you all have any like success stories that you wanted to share? Like any examples to point to where you're like, oh, like this is why. What I love about recruiting is like there's just some stories or some people who stick with you. You're like, this is why we do this. This is why we do this work. This is what gets me up in the morning. I'm amped about it. Yeah. This is why we're doing this. Do you all have any you want to share?
I mean, yeah, I could share something about all of them, to be honest. I think my favorite one, so even before kind of Travis County, my first hire was also our first second chance person.
First hire at Literati.
My first hire at Literati.
2 years ago.
Almost 2 years ago. And he's still here. He's one of the leaders on the team. He's the fastest picker. He's the fastest packer. He's just a bundle of joy and energy. And he's still here. I consider him a friend. I would say he considers me a friend. And I think that's really cool. I mean, he's one of our core group of people here in this building. And then, I mean, even from some of the others, it's just, again, just the sense of dignity and not being afraid of their background when it comes to getting a position. And again, not everybody's worked out. I can say that, but for the ones that have, they're such an integral part of the team. One of them is considered like the nicest person in the warehouse. He is everybody's like older brother, basically. Buys people lunch if they can't buy lunch or if they forgot their lunch. And then one of them, she sets up all of our events, right? She helps with that. So I think they're all a success story in their own way because they come in and they dive right in. Totally. There usually isn't kind of a grace period of filling themselves out because our team and our company, we're not really like that anyway. Like once you're in. You're going to get involved. And I think overall as a success, everybody's got involved in one way, shape, or form. And it's just makes our teams really fun to be around and really great to add to be honest.
Yes. I feel like hearing the success stories, it just makes you like, it just makes your heart warm to know that like you're making such a big difference by implementing a program, you know, that maybe people would historically be hesitant to, but it's really important to consider these things that will not only drive, Lyndsey, to your point, DEIB initiatives, but also drive your bottom line, drive your culture. These are all things that create an amazing company. So I'm really glad to hear from you all on this. I'm curious because obviously when someone brings something like this to you, and you all can speak to this on kind of opposite sides, manager versus IC, And Lindsey, how do you create the environment of trusting in your individual contributors that they can bring these, innovative and impactful changes to the table?
Yeah. Well, one of Literati's values is we are a creative company. And that's not just reserved for the incredibly talented creatives that we have. I think that runs through, every position in Literati. And what that really means is that we have the autonomy and we have the space to do things differently, and that we can try and we can test and we can experiment and we can iterate and we can do things that maybe in other organizations that are larger, that are more bureaucratic, that might have more red tape, who might have more closed-minded decision makers, we're able to take risk. And, my team knows that. I know that. Other people in our organization know and understand that. And so that, I think, from leadership down, gives ICs the confidence to take risks, to be creative, to ask for things, to show up with an idea. Maybe it'll work and do great things. Maybe it won't. But, the failure is in not trying, really.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And AJ, from your end, what does it mean to you to have this culture fostered on your team? Or what does it mean to you to have such a supportive culture around being able to bring innovation to your team?
Everything. It makes my job a lot easier. And I think Lindsey touched on something. I'm never afraid to say, hey, can I try this? I'm very much, I work on emotion and all these things, and Lindsey is very data driven. So usually it's a yes, but then it's followed by, okay, but like, why are we doing this? But just the fact that I have the space to just ask or even try without just kind of any worry that if it doesn't work that I'll be reprimanded or in trouble or anyway, it makes the job a lot easier, and it makes the job a lot more enjoyable because we have such a collaborative kind of working relationship, especially when it comes to these types of things. And it just really just gives you just kind of a sense of calm when things might not go how you planned them, if there's a couple people that get let go at the same time. So it means everything because I know what it could be. And just but as a company as a whole, just being in a space where you get to watch people do this kind of across the board, it's really inspiring, and it just makes the job a lot of fun as well. And I think for me, if I have those things in place, I'm going to be as close to the best recruiter that I can be.
And you're the one who's pitching this to people. You're the one who's on calls, or I know that you said you do texts as well. You're the one who's on here like, hey, I think this would be a great place for you to work, and you believe it. And that's people can believe me, candidates can tell when you don't believe that.
I think one of my favorite things about this whole thing is that I know that when talking to somebody, there is, no matter their background, like I know there's a chance that we will be that place for them. Right? Which is really nice when you calling somebody, especially a second chance. I mean, anybody really, but especially some of the second chance people, and saying, hey, I'm sending you your offer letter right now. Here's your start date. The excitement in their voice, the amount of thank yous I get. One of our guys thanks me every time I see him, and he's been here for 6 months.
It makes me want to cry a little.
And same with one of our other people. They're so grateful, and I just got them here. The culture we have here, the team we have, the teams we have, just kind of, they bring them in, like I said earlier, but that's why you do it, right? You're
totally
literally changing somebody's life. But then like they're changing mine, right? You learn from people, and I have friends that I never would have never would have had if we didn't have something like this.
I just feel so warm in my heart right now.
I know. Same.
That's amazing. Well, let's move on to kind of like our more standard questions that we like to ask everybody, just to hear across the board what people are thinking. Would love to know, what does hiring excellence mean to you all at Literati?
This is a Lyndsey question.
Oh, AJ, come on. I'll toss you the hot potato in a sec. Yeah. Hiring excellence, I think, at the end of the day, we're only as good as our word, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, you got to walk the walk. And there are plenty of recruiters out there that make recruiting look bad, or that candidates like to bag on. And, oftentimes that is the narrative that we get caught up in. And so, I'm on a personal mission to basically give people the opposite, give them what they're not expecting. And I think what that is setting a really high bar. And that's being radically transparent with candidates. That is providing actionable feedback. That is, giving them candidate interview guides and letting them peel behind or look behind the curtain, peek behind the curtain, and know and understand what the recruiting process is, who's involved, what to expect, how to prepare for it. You can lead the horse to water, you cannot make it drink. But if you give everybody the same preparation, it's probably going to make the decision making easier for you, because they all had the same repeatable process, right? And so I think that at the end of the day, it is doing each step that we do great and not settling for anything below that, and being transparent and inclusive in the process. And I think that if you do that, then, you're going to have a lot of net promoters for your brand, and you can change people's minds about how they think and how they view recruiters if you give them an incredible experience.
I'm 100% pro change in the way people view recruiters, because I'm seeing shots fired at recruiters every day on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I've said this before in other episodes, but I'm like, hi, former recruiter here. I just wanted to just provide this perspective. Cause like, and yes, just like literally any other profession, doctors, lawyers, accountants, marketing, sales, software engineers, literally anybody. There are people who are not great at the job, or just simply should be in a different profession.
Yeah.
But I think in large part, recruiters want to help you. They want to be there for you. They want to facilitate this process. They want to be, excited to call you and say, hey, I have this life-changing offer for you. Like, that's what most recruiters want. And so I love that you're trying to change that narrative, because my goodness, there are some not great recruiters out there that are really making that hard for us, huh?
Right. And you know what? A lot of that commentary that's negative towards recruiters is generally caught up in some sort of like fundamental lack of communication or understanding.
Totally.
Right. And so if there are just a couple little things that person could have done differently or tweaked, or maybe they had like a better mentor, somebody to guide them or to teach them the way, like, that would have made the difference in that person's experience, right? And I know that, and I get that. And so that's why I'm always like constantly thinking about, how can I tweak this? How can I change that? What are they saying? How can I apply something differently, right? And so my process on everything that I do is completely iterative because of that, right? Because it's always evolving.
Amazing. Well, I feel like we got into some like mild takes, but let's get into your recruiting. Let's get into your recruiting hot takes. AJ, you wanna?
AJ, what's your hot take? Let's go.
Thank you for not making me follow that. Actually, I really appreciate that. My recruiting hot take is low retention numbers aren't the end all be all worst thing in the world. And I say that because it allows you to do and look at so much of your process and your culture. And sometimes it tells you where you're going wrong, right? So if you have those use that. Don't get on your recruiter. Don't get on whoever. Use that. Take that data and try and get as much data as you can and say, okay, where can we improve culturally? Where can we improve in the process? Where can we improve here to increase that? And I say that because we had them at one point, and Lyndsey and one of our general managers, we sat down and we said, all right, what are we going to do about this? Where are we going wrong? And we've been able to tweak process, tweak systems, and our retention has gone up a lot. So that's my hot take.
Significantly.
It's not the end all be all. It's really not a bad thing. It's just something to learn from.
Totally. I love that. All right, Lyndsey, let's hear it.
Oh gosh. Well, I got a lot of hot takes. So if I have to pick one, let's see. I think it goes back to meeting people where they're at, right? We got to go to them. We got to go to them wherever they are digitally, wherever they are mentally, wherever they are physically, intellectually, whatever that it is. Like, we have to go to where they're at, and that's where we're going to find our greatest success. If we make everybody come to us, if we make everybody jump through hoops, if we're out there, with a big ego, people have a lot of options right now. And, you're not gonna set yourself up for success. And, ultimately you're just going to be banging your head against the wall of, why you're not able to fill roles quickly with high quality talent. So I think it is, at the end of the day, being flexible, meeting people where they're at, and thinking about things differently to get it done.
Yeah, like you said earlier, don't rest on your laurels.
No.
Laurels
Never.
don't get the innovation done.
Never ever.
Amazing. Well, this has been such a valuable conversation. I'm really excited for people to learn more about second chance hiring. But as we come up on our time, can you share where people should go to learn more about you two and more about Literati?
Absolutely. You can find us at literati.com if you want to sign up for a subscription for your kiddo or your grandkid or your niece or your nephew or your teacher friend or whoever that it is. We would love to see that. Or if you want to request a Literati book fair to your school, you can do that there as well. If you're interested in what's happening on the careers side of the house, you can always go to literati.careers and check us out there. If you have any specific questions you're curious about, you can always shoot me an email, la@literati.com, and I am more than happy to engage.
Amazing.
Yeah, same. Find me on LinkedIn, AJ Price, or again, to piggyback on Lindsey, AJ@literati.com.
Making it real easy for us.
Yeah.
Well, Lindsey and AJ, thank you so much again for joining us on Offer Accepted. We really appreciate you spending some time with us today. And thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Shannon. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Offer Accepted, the podcast for ambitious recruiting professionals, brought to you by Ashby, the all-in-one recruiting platform. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and share with your TA community. We'll see you next time.